Honest question. Does anyone genuinely care about this movie? I don't mean you think it's a 6 out of 10 movie, I mean you think it's at least 8 out of 10 material that 100% deserved not only its animated feature win, but its place in the Pixar filmography and Merida's spot as a Disney princess? I'm being dead honest, I have yet to meet someone who thinks this highly of Brave. Okay, let me take a step back. I'm being very critical of this movie that I've only seen like twice. Maybe, just maybe, it's better than I remember. It's not that good. Look, I went into this rewatch with an open mind. I mean, this movie robbed Wreck-It Ralph out of an Oscar. It's gotta be at least good, right? Well, to be fair, it did get a little bit better for me, but I honestly have no intentions of ever watching this movie again. Let me elaborate. From the start, Brave seemed to have decent potential. It opens up with a monologue about changing your fate for the greater good and introduces us to a likable protagonist. She makes it clear to her mom that she doesn't want to be a princess and finds her passion outside of the castle walls, but her mother, on the other hand, wants her to stick with tradition. Wow, what an unconventional idea for a modern Disney movie. But this movie's different. That's right, Merida's not like the other girls because she's made by Pixar, meaning that she is not going to sing. Okay. I mean, I guess that's different from the Disney Renaissance and Revival eras, but how does that make it any better than those movies? All they did was take out the music. You know, the one thing everyone loves from Disney movies. And the thing that's really upsetting is that they had a chance to make this a fresh Disney female protagonist movie. The beginning of the film seemed to set up an adventurous and possibly dark tone that would be more than enough to replace the lack of musical numbers. Basically everything that Raya and the Last Dragon looks like right now. Hopefully that statement won't age poorly in a few weeks. But then they turned the mom into a bear and yeah, okay, I'm lost. And it's such a shame because I genuinely think that this movie had potential to be an epic, rich, and motivational tale. Heck, it had more potential to be good than The Good Dinosaur, and I liked that movie. So what happened? Well, apparently the movie had to swap directors halfway through due to creative differences. Gosh, that explains a lot. Most of my criticism with this movie has to do with how conflicted its message and execution is, so it honestly makes perfect sense that there was a conflict with the creative process. I'm sure it's been a while since you've seen this movie, so allow me to give you a brief summary. Once upon a time, a soon-to-be princess named Merida lived in a castle. Her mother has her entire life planned out, but Merida just wants to be an archer, so of course they argue a lot. One day, Merida has an argument with her mom after ruining an archery ceremony. Her mom tells her this ancient story about a prince who was so stuck up on himself that he stole the throne of the kingdom that he ruled with his 4 brothers. If you're wondering why I'm mentioning this, it's because it has a lot of plot relevance for some reason. I'll explain later. You know what else has a lot of plot relevance for an inconceivable reason? This family tapestry that Merida rips as they argue. Anyways, Merida leaves in anger for the woods and eventually encounters Boo from Monsters Inc. I mean, some random witch who gives her a spell that will change her mother. After making her mom eat this thing, Merida is surprised to find out that things don't work out as she expected. So she takes her mom to the witch's hut, where the witch tells her that the spell will be permanent in 2 days unless they
mend the bond torn by pride.
Oh, okay. I see where this movie's going now. Now that the mom is in bear form, she's gonna have the opportunity to learn Merida's way of living and appreciate it. Once both of them learn their differing viewpoints, the bond will be mended and Merida's mom will be human again. Spoiler alert, this is not what happens. The movie never gives a legitimate opportunity for Merida to understand what her mother wants from her. Because of this, we never get a scene where she grows out of her prideful, rebellious phase. I mean, she literally had no remorse for what she did to her mom after it happened.
It's not my fault. I didn't ask her to change you into a bear.
But by the time Merida and her mom get back to the castle, the movie wants you to believe that Merida somehow understands and is even willing to comply with her mother's wishes. It's worth noting that when she's giving this speech about following tradition, she's doing it as a distraction so her mom can get to the top of the stairs without anyone noticing. And that's all her character is. Her only drive is to change her mom back so no one notices a mistake that she clearly caused in an attempt to get her way. She doesn't mean any of this stuff that she's saying. She's just spewing random crap, hoping everyone doesn't look behind them to see a bear. Now that Soul is a movie that exists with a similar plot twist in the middle, I really don't see how anyone can defend this movie. Both 22 and Joe learn specific things about life that they wouldn't have learned had this twist not happened. The audience understands why the characters think differently because we got to see them experience things that challenge their idea of life. Side note, the cat part of this movie was the biggest criticism I gave it in my review, but if I'm being honest, it really doesn't bother me anymore. In fact, the whole movie has gotten a lot better for me now that I've watched it like 5 times. If you guys want, I can make a whole new video about Soul, so leave a comment if that sounds interesting. But now that we have Soul to compare Brave to, it's pretty clear which movie executed the body swap trope better. And what kind of shocks me is right after Merida gives this whole speech about embracing tradition and proceeding with the wedding ceremony, her mom gives her cues that imply that she can be her own person and break tradition if she wants to. Of course, this is all stuff her mom learned, but by having her mom change her mind, it halts any chance of Merida genuinely learning from her mother. I don't know, this whole ending seems pretty conflicted. Like, what message is it really trying to tell? That we should care and understand the point of view of our peers, or that breaking tradition is good? Without a definitive scene of Merida realizing that her mother has a point, it throws the whole unity theme out the window, so all we're left with is the theme of breaking tradition. Which, yeah, breaking tradition is usually good, but if that is the only sound theme in this movie, we're left with a giant hole due to the movie's inability to properly treat Merida's character. It's just conflicted. Okay, so now that the movie wants you to believe that Merida and her mom understand each other, the bond has been mended and Merida's mom is now a human again, right? Wrong. After they receive the witch's vague poem, Merida immediately assumes that this is talking about the tapestry that she ripped at the beginning, so they head back to the castle to sew it back together. But even when she sews it back, her mom is still a bear. What's the bond that needs to be mended then? Well, this is where that one story that Merida's mom told Merida at the beginning of the movie about the prince who took the throne from his brothers comes to play. Earlier on in the movie, Merida learns that this prince did the exact same spell with the witch centuries ago to gain the strength of 10 men. She learns this, of course, by falling into a pit and receiving a flashback of it happening. Oh, also she almost dies by the Mor'Du bear, so there's that, I guess. So in order for Merida's mom to change back, the original bond must be mended by killing the bear Mor'Du and having their soul sent to the great beyonds? Why though? None of the characters learn anything significant by saving Mor'Du. All of that happened in this scene. And how does literally killing this bear mend the bond with his brothers? Everything Mor'Du did happened centuries ago. The bond is long from being mended. It just seemed like they needed some sort of climax for this movie, so they threw in the ancient story at the beginning and tried to write Mor'Du into the movie as some sort of lost soul. But who cares? These characters mean nothing to us. We never received enough information on these characters to understand and accept that they're supposed to be a big part of the story. In the end, it just makes a giant confusing mess. Maybe I'm just disagreeing with this ending. I mean, it technically makes sense if you really think about it, but none of this clicks the way that other Pixar films do. Instead, it just feels like one giant conflicted mess divided over how to interpret the witch's words and how it would all link to the end. Upon rewatching this film, I realized that it does indeed work, and it isn't some terrible piece of garbage like Cars 2 or Cars 3. But can you really say that this is any more of a good movie than 20 of the 22 other Pixar movies? If you like this movie, good for you. Don't let me take that joy away from you. Leave a comment about why you think it's good, because your guys' comments about Cars 2 has at least opened me up to the idea about why that movie is good, even if I still think it's a dumpster fire. But as of now, I really don't see why anyone would pick this movie over literally any other Disney princess movie. It just seems like this movie is still in the development stage, unaware of what message it's going to tell or how it's going to tell it. Even the title of the movie doesn't make much sense to me. They tried to make sense of it at the very end with,
Our fate lives within us. You only have to be brave enough to see it.
I guess that works, but I promise you there are a million other titles that could have summed that up better than Brave. But whatever, it's not terrible, it's not good, it's just Brave. I'ma just give it a 5 out of 10 and probably forget that this movie exists. That is, until a new Pixar movie comes out and we have to figure out where it lands on the Pixar theory, because, oh boy, this movie has a lot of significance in that theory. Anyways, let me know in the comments what you think of this movie. Don't forget to subscribe and follow my social medias. I'll see you next time.